You're listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin Raphael McManus. It's good to be back in Los Angeles. We were just in New York together. Had to stay a little bit longer, but now we are here.
But did you really have to stay?
Honestly, if you and like that hoodie and the pants you wore yesterday, those were not getting done unless I stayed.
I'm just saying, does anyone have to stay in New York? You get to stay in New York.
I get to stay in New York, and honestly, it's calling me back. I miss it. I miss being in. I came back to the sunniness of LA, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I liked the rain. I liked wearing a sweater.
I love New York. I love New York in the autumn. I love New York in the spring.
But once it gets around January, February, New York's not so beautiful anymore.
I'm not the biggest fan in winter or even in the sweltering heat of the summer.
Yeah.
But I don't think New Yorkers are either.
I don't think so. I think it's more like who survives the winter.
Yeah.
You know? I want to welcome everybody from our Patreon community. That's exciting. That's a new thing.
It is exciting.
Are we 1 week in on Patreon, Austin?
Yes, sir.
It's kind of amazing. We have a good little chunk of people who are part of the Patreon community.
I was surprised. Austin was giving me the numbers this morning, and thank you guys so much for jumping on board and joining us.
Do you understand what Patreon is? Can I ask you?
Well, I think that it allows people who have been receiving a great value for free to invest and contribute so it can continue to happen for others.
Basically, Patreon is the subscription. Yes, it's a great description of what it is.
Yeah.
Patreon, essentially, our Patreon community, essentially is like a tiered subscription-based community where you can give from like $5, $10, $20, $40 a month and kind of gain different access points to the podcast. Like we release a private podcast almost every week right now. I don't know if it's going to be every week, but definitely multiple times a month. So there's value there. We're going to do live Q&As, live episodes. We're going to do different things for the different Patreon community. And I think it's really exciting. So you can go to patreon.com/BattleReadyPodcast and go join that and check that out.
I had an idea.
Wait. Oh, go for it.
I thought for our Patreon, is that how
Patreon, yeah.
For our Patreon audience, I thought what we should do is maybe once a week, you and I should commit with our own phones just to do something behind the scenes. You do it at your house, I do it at my house, and we just bring them into our life and just share something that's going on.
No.
Never seen Aaron's house. Do it.
Nope.
House tour.
No.
You can show them your little pop tent on the corner.
I'll show you. I'm about to move houses, Brooke, next 2 days after conference.
What?
I'm about to have no furniture in the house.
Why are you moving?
Well, I'm moving because one, my house is very, very small.
It's what, 900 square feet?
Yeah.
No, a bungalow.
Yeah. It's a bungalow. I was with my friend in New York, Marion, and I was like, because I was contemplating moving to New York 2 weeks ago, and I had reached out like, hey, do you have any places that you know of? And there was a place in her building, and I was like, how big is it? And I was like, how big's your apartment? And she was like, she gave me the size. It was like almost double my house. And if someone in New York has a bigger house than someone else, I'm like, I'm just doing it wrong. So I found another place to live, and I'm going to be doing that. And you will not be getting a tour right away.
Okay,
It's very suspect. The place isn't in New York, is it?
No, it's in LA.
I just thought that a lot of our Patreon audience, they actually love being on the journey with us.
They do.
And one of the things that'd be really fun is just take them back behind the scenes sometimes.
Okay, I'm open to it. Like, are we talking like an MTV Cribs? Like Austin follows us in our house. Hey guys, look at my fridge. There's only Dasani. Dasani's whack.
Did you just say Dasani water?
Yeah, I don't know why I went whack. Like, what is the water I like? It's not Smart. It's Essentia. It's the branding.
We drink Topo Chico.
I drink the water in New York is so much better than the water in LA.
You can't drink the water in LA.
You know Dasani has a sparkling water version now, right? Just in case you needed it.
We are not sponsored. I would love to be sponsored by Essentia.
I'm going to rip that Nike logo off my shirt. I'm not being sponsored.
Battle Ready by Essentia.
Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for joining our Patreon list for Battle Ready. We're so glad that you guys are here with us.
Yeah. We had some issues with podcast 2 weeks ago, like uploading. And people, it was funny because I like put up a thing of me in a cab, like, or an Uber late at night, and was like, we figured out that we just couldn't figure out what happened. But we uploaded the right file. right, Austin?
We did. I triple checked everything.
And like all the feedback was that like people were saying if I deleted the app and I reinstalled it, that it was working. But they were also saying that for other podcasts as well. Like the podcasts were other people's podcasts were playing the old episode. Anyways, uphill climb. We're back in LA. We have Mosaic conference this week. We're really. You gonna give me more than that?
No, I'm excited.
You excited?
It opens up this Friday night.
Friday night.
And all day Saturday. And of course, we consider Sunday as a part of the conference.
And it's,
because Sunday we're going to have some guest speakers and it's going to be pretty amazing.
It's so exciting. I'm excited.
I just think it's really good to take time out of your schedule and focus on things that really matter.
It's so true. I think conference is such a weird thing if you don't realize how much it can positively affect your life. Like, why take 2 days out of your year to really focus on yourself? I don't know, but it's like a spiritual, mental massage. That's weird.
Well, no, it's a part of the reason why performance-oriented companies that learn how to develop elite performance, they force people to go away. They take them away, oftentimes 5 days, 7 days, minimally 3 days, because they know that they can have greater breakthroughs if they can have a concentrated amount of time. And so it's not really about what you're experiencing just in any singular session. It's about the experience that allows you to have a breakthrough you've been trying to experience for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And really, we're only meeting for the weekend. Ideally, we should add another day. But that kind of concentrated experience allows you to have spiritual breakthroughs, relational breakthroughs, emotional breakthroughs. And so I really recommend it because in the old school days, they would have like youth camps for kids. Like they go away for a week. The reason is because they understood that when you come in and you're kind of hard and you're kind of callous and you have your own patterns and your stubbornness, it takes a couple of days to begin to break down all those barriers. And about day 3, day 4, all of a sudden you become open to new things in your life. And it's true for us as adults. The reason conferences are important is not just for, that's the speaker that really spoke to me, or that was the session that really did something for me. It's the accumulation of experience upon experience upon experience where you finally have the openness to bring the change that you need.
Excited for conference. Excited for this. We're actually going to release some clothing soon.
We are.
I just got to get the tags on everything.
We have to.
The branding and a few things, but it's a new brand, a new thing.
A new brand?
It's a new brand, bro.
Yes.
What?
We haven't told anyone. No. Yeah, a new brand.
We're very excited. Whenever we start something, when you're entering into a new world, a new universe, and you don't even know how the solar systems are all going to shape and form. And
what is it like MCU when they release like new Marvel universes? What is it called? Like phase 1 and phase 2?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is our phase 2 of our McManus clothing universe.
When does it launch?
You know what, Brooke?
Are these hard questions?
You know what, Brooke? Stay out of this.
It's going to launch right away, Brooke, by the end of this month.
I got it.
No, I'm not drinking coffee anymore. I have so much anxiety now.
I'm very, very excited because with McManus Gallery, we really focused on, we began by using repurposed materials, and we focused on bringing different textures and creating an aesthetic that was very joyful and colorful and
really unique. And we're not going to stop that because we actually have a bunch of stuff we're going to release with that as well. But we're going to add a new element of it, Brooke. We're getting away from our own last name, so it's going to have its own like unique name.
Okay.
We're going to also launch it under McManus Gallery, like on the Instagram, because it's a part of, like, we want McManus Gallery to be like more of, we were talking about like if we were to concept McManus Gallery, it's not just singularly our brand. We want it to be a brand where you can find other brands.
Oh, cool.
So we want to feature friends. We want to feature art. We want it to be more about a community element than just like, hey, we're releasing clothes that might be, inspirational and unobtainable, but also finding different price points and different elements and kind of come in and be a part of like an online boutique, if that makes sense.
Also creating like a new Louvre. We want to create an art space for new designers and for our friends who are in this same world. And we do not see other designers as competition. We want to create a space where young designers that we really appreciate and enjoy can also be introduced to our audience.
You're not wearing the pants.
No, not today.
My favorite thing is like we're working there, right? And we work in this factory in New York, and they're like the most wonderful people. Shout out storytellers and creators. And they're more than, it's interesting because I think the best part about sitting down with them is like the ideology conversation, because we talk more about the ideology of clothing and fashion than almost we do like the design side. And I like love being with them, and you know they have all these thoughts of like, we're not an atelier, we're not a factory, we're designers, and I'm like, yeah, but you are also all the other things that you say you're not. And I'm like, we are too, right? Like we have this unique, I think, perspective to kind of collect different silhouettes and kind of put them out. But you steal clothes. Like we'll make samples, Brooke, and then he's like, I'm taking them to LA.
Well, why shouldn't I take the samples?
Because I kind of need to shoot them.
No, I take the imperfect samples, the ones that haven't quite gotten where we want them to get.
That's true.
And we're not going to sell them. And I wear them because I'm okay with the imperfection.
It's true, but a lot of it's Japanese fabric. I mean, it's all Japanese fabric right now, which is kind of exciting, and so all like really unique, soft, buttery.
Yeah. Even though I'm not wearing our pants, I am wearing our T-shirt today. So I am.
You are.
Yeah.
It's a good tee. Don't hate on me. I made a good tee.
Come on.
That's a McManus Gallery tee that we haven't released yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we jump into it? We got a lot of things going.
There's a lot going on. And you know, one of the things that we've both been talking about and have experienced and have lived through ourselves is how to leave your job well.
Ooh.
You know? And
hitting close to home this week, huh, Austin?
I'm not leaving.
No, you're not. I'm putting an Apple tag on you, though. Well, you leave, I'm gonna get a ping that says, your human friend is now 100 feet away from you. That's scary and weird. Okay.
Well, I just think that we are in a time of definite cultural transition. People have quit their jobs or quitting their jobs or moving on. They're they're trying to reevaluate their own lives, and there's a lot going on. And you have to realize that people in your 20s will probably quit and have new jobs at a faster rate than someone in their 30s and someone in their 40s.
But you did like 8 different jobs when you were in your 20s.
I did. I was
more than 8.
I did a lot.
You had 8 jobs when you were like 19, I think.
Yeah, I think I've probably had like 20 complete different jobs.
Okay.
In my life. And
that's crazy.
Did you quit any of them? All of them?
You got fired, I'm sure.
I have been fired. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. And
I would never get fired because they'd be like, I'd be like, I quit. I quit. But it wouldn't be like a righteous quitting. It'd be like, I quit because I understand I suck.
No.
This is the McManus guilt.
I think it'd be, you cannot quit. I just fired you. No, I have had a lot of jobs. And I will say, in some of those jobs, I was incredibly unessential.
You were a non-essential worker.
I was a non-essential worker. And so my quitting my job had, no bearing on the health of the company. Like, when I flipped burgers at Hardee's Hamburger,
Which is Carl's Jr.
Yeah, it is Carl's Jr. And their future is not dependent on my cooking skills. And and yet I train managers for a pizza company, and that I was more essential there because if I had quit there, they were dependent on me because I was training managers for their different franchises, and I was only 19 years old at that time.
How much did that matter? Like how important you are?
I think that you have to weigh that in. I really do, because when you've been given more responsibility, I feel like then you have to embrace that that you also have to reciprocate with the same level of responsibility and respect.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so I think you have to look at the scale of that.
Yeah.
You go, wow, I'm basically a non-essential worker.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you can go, hey, I'm leaving. And whatever the situation, it could be 2 weeks. They might just say, today's your last day. Usually when you're not essential, they treat you that way and you're gone, right? And
but it does feel like we're like in a culture though that everyone wants to have complete autonomy.
Yes.
And I read a thing this morning. I don't know who. Someone I follow posted it, and I don't think it's someone I'm close with, but I think it's someone in the church world that said, don't get mad at people for having the side hustle. Like employers, don't be mad at people for having a side hustle. Mm-hmm. A side hustle actually inspires them more to give, bring more into their work. And I was like, I do agree to some degree, and I disagree as well.
Yeah, and, I would rather be the side hustle.
Really? I don't know if I agree with that.
No, because usually you're bringing all your energy and passion to the side hustle, which is
true.
So it's like, wait a minute, if you're gonna just mail in a job and then bring your passion to your side hustle, I'd rather hire you to bring your side hustle here.
Ooh.
That's
true.
Yeah, because
no one wants to be the main chick or the main man.
No, what you got to find is people who the job is actually their passion. It is their side hustle. It's what they love to do. It's what they would want to do if they could do a side hustle.
Now I'm just confused. But I do agree. I do agree because I feel like our entire life is a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in like a respectful way because it's not that church is less important, but it's like the more successful we are in the business world, the less responsibility the church has to like, keep us afloat or like, like the when we have a great year, it's like, it's amazing. We can hire more people from Mosaic because, you're not paying yourself for like XYZ, and you didn't pay yourself for decades at Mosaic.
Yes.
And so
people understand being a pastor, leading Mosaic was in that sense my side hustle.
Everything else you did with your life was the main thing, but you didn't treat it like they were the main thing.
No, because like Mosaic was my passion. It was my love. I just like, but it unfortunately wasn't my income,
Right.
But if I didn't give Mosaic my passion, it wouldn't create the income other people needed.
Yeah. But it's also that's not a knock on people whose main income is church.
No, I hope their main income is church, and I hope they're paid super well.
We heard there's a church. Did you guys know there's a church, I guess, in Texas that's like, I mean, it's massive, but their budget was like 180 million a year.
I don't even understand that.
I don't, but I'm not lying. I don't think.
No. They make our annual budget on a weekend.
On a weekend? Yeah, we did the math. They made our annual budget on a weekend.
It's like,
wow.
They had 700 employees, I think.
Yeah.
700.
What?
Can they hire me?
Like I could creative direct for them in 2 days a month.
Yeah.
I might call them actually. I'm just kidding. No, but like,
and I'm so happy for their success.
Yeah, this is not a knock.
No, that's incredible.
But like,
the only reason I would be envious is I haven't been able to pull it off.
It is a crazy thing though, right? Because there's a we don't have to get into this, but the importance of having is it super important to have a side hustle, or is it okay to just be a person who's satisfied with the job that they have?
It depends on who you are. To be honest with you,
my name is Erwin McManus.
No, some people have an immense amount of energy, and they would have what some assessors would call, like a high activity score.
Okay.
And so my energy score is like 96 out of 99.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of energy to do a lot of things. Okay. But we also have people on our team, and their energy activity score is a 2.
What's my activity score? I don't remember.
It's not as high as mine.
You always start it like that.
But it's not as low.
But it's so funny
as a 2.
It's so funny though, because when we work together, like in clothing, like what Jessica said, like be nice to your dad, because he couldn't remember the name of 2 different kind of pockets, and I was like, like it's a freaking patch pocket. How can you not remember that? And I was so annoyed with you, but it's the same way. You always remind me, like, oh, like your activity score is not nearly as high as me. That's great. We have little places we get each other.
Yeah.
It's like House of Dragons.
You asked me a question, who should have a side hustle? And if you have if you don't have high energy, when you have a side hustle, you're probably not doing your job well.
Oof.
But if you have high energy, high activity, you probably have enough room for a side hustle.
What do you do when you feel like nothing you do is just going well?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Because I feel like I'm attached to you and I'm a part of your side hustle world. And I don't feel like I accomplish anything well because we do so many different things.
That's also learning your work style. And you function much better if you have 1 to 2 things that you can really focus in on.
A day or over like a project?
Over season.
Okay.
And if you have 5 or 6, you feel like
I get crippled.
Yeah, I just can't do this.
Yeah,
you know. And so you're probably ironically in a healthier structure. Most people should have 1 to 2 things that they're really focused in on.
Yeah.
And giving all their energy to that.
Even if you have a side hustle. Like you still have to decide.
One of those 2 is a side hustle.
I'm going to crush out 1 or 2 things from my main job.
Yeah.
And then when I go home, I'm going to crush out 1 or 2 things from my side hustle.
Yeah. And so I think people do have different structures. That's why I hate when people say, this is the way you should do it every time. And people are different. Like, I mean, last week, I don't know if I've been more energized and more excited and more alive. And, you know, I'm finishing a manuscript for my next book.
Yeah.
We were finishing up the Art of Communication, 7 Frequencies. We're getting ready for a conference. I was preparing messages here for Mosaic. We were going to New York and working on our next collection. And I felt so happy.
I just got a photo of the coat.
Oh, wow.
It just came through.
Oh, my goodness. That's going to be, it's going to be smooth. It's going to be something really, really nice.
Say buttery again, Aaron.
Buttery.
Nah, this one ain't going to be buttery.
I called my wife and I said, our new collection is delicious.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Tan rico.
We did this okay, I'm sorry. I know I got you off track, but Arturo was like blowing me up. He FaceTimed me. Should we just FaceTime real quick?
No.
No?
We're in the middle of battle ready.
I know.
Be focused. Stay on your 1 or 2 things.
A little commercial. No,
I have a question about what you're talking about.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, Brooke.
What counts as a thing?
I need someone to have a conversation
What do
with
you
me here. What's that, Brooke?
You said be focused on 1 or 2 things. Like, is battle ready a thing? Is that one of those
It
things?
is one of the things.
Because this is once a week.
Yes.
But then Aaron can only do 1 other thing.
No, but like I would say this, Brooke, like how many times Battle Ready has like gone so in my head where I've like left either like defeated or exhausted because I'm like, dang, I just blew it. I was bad or what, we were working on something and I got here earlier and then we did Battle Ready and then now I'm like flustered because I can't focus on anything else.
So maybe restructure that, Brooke. You should do 1 or 2 things that cost you energy.
Hermano.
But you can do other things that actually bring you energy.
That's good. I think Aaron picked up a FaceTime call.
Okay, FaceTime call.
We're on Battle Ready real quick.
Hermano, ¿cómo estás? Aquí estamos en Battle Ready. Ay, mira qué bonito.
Oh my, no way.
Oh my goodness.
The buttons work great.
I wish all of our Battle Ready audience could see this. Maybe we can put it on Patreon.
Wait, Jessica. Oh, he's putting it on.
Oh, it looks a little slender. Oh no, it fits you. I don't mean it like that.
Oh, that's amazing. It looks great.
That's a medium?
Yeah, because it'll be like nice and oversized. See?
Oh, yeah. I see that.
Oh, wow.
That is beautiful.
The back, the slit in the back is amazing. Oof.
Hi, Mira. Hi.
Hi. Okay. We just shouted you out. I gotta go. I'll call you later. It looks amazing.
Wait a minute, Arturo. Hey, will you come on and be a guest on Battle Ready and talk to us about design and fashion and beauty and why it's important?
All right, let's do it. I'm down.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Say bye. Okay, that's funny. Sorry, we had to do it.
I just had to.
Is amazing. So that coat had issues with the sleeves, and me and Arturo, like, we always have these little passive aggressive fights because he puts me to work in the factory, and I'm like, I love learning, but I don't want to learn on a fabric that costs $50 a yard. I want to learn on stuff that costs nothing. So like when he has like, if I cut a sweatpant, I'm not as worried because the sweatpant, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive. And if I mess it up, we can fix it. But I freaking messed up the sleeve. But I don't know if it was me. I don't know if it was me. I think maybe, I don't know. I cut something pretty janky on that thing. It might have been the sleeve. But I think it was the pattern.
I leave and this is what you do.
No, I leave. You put me to work. I'm sorry. But I learned so much. Why are you laughing at me now? No, just support me right now.
We're going to have one jacket for sale for someone with very short arms.
No, that's the That's the medium. So then they scale that, they'll do large, extra large. Okay, back to the thing. So the side hustle.
No.
So you asked the question, Brooke.
Brooke asked a good question, and I think it's really about what costs you energy, Brooke.
What costs you energy, Brooke?
Oh.
No. Okay, so what costs you energy?
Right. No, I'm just saying because if something actually replenishes your energy, it's amazing.
Main job.
It's amazing.
Working for Erwin. No, she said it with her eyes. You're so red right now. I'm sorry.
I create space for other people to create.
Brooke's got side hustles.
Mm-hmm. She does. In fact, I encourage her side hustles.
He does.
You can see her side hustles on Hallmark.
Yeah. I think the thing is that sometimes you have to take a job.
Okay.
And it's fulfilling, it's meaningful, it has purpose, it's significant, but it's not your career.
Okay.
And sometimes it can be a misunderstanding because you bring so much value that the people you work for may think it's your career.
Yeah.
But I won't be surprised if there comes a day and Brooke says, hey, I'm going to be writing scripts for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And then I'll say, you can write it from the booth of Battle Ready. Siéntete, por favor.
But it would...
Get another Apple tag for Brooke, please.
Yeah, I'm going to get Apple tag.
But obviously we'd love for Brooke to be here. And
we love for Brooke to be here.
Yes. So the way I look at it, I hope your side hustle becomes so successful that you can work with us and we don't have to pay you.
Well, that's yeah.
Because that's always my goal. Because I always know that any income that comes to me through Mosaic is always tenuous. I'm the first one to give my salary back. When the church isn't doing well financially, I stop all that.
There's always a conversation of it's always the family who, anyone who works for Mosaic cuts their salary first in the family.
Yeah, if your name is McManus and anything that you're first on the chopping block, and that's just the reality.
Yeah,
and so I have to treat the reality of that and go. My side hustle has to be the primary source of income so that I can do everything connected to Mosaic and never have it be held hostage because of income. And, we want world-class people here. We have Austin, and we feel like Austin could be working so many places. And making so much more money. So we understand that...
Sorry, Austin.
that there's a sacrifice he's making to be on this team.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
And then we also understand there are benefits of being on this team that you wouldn't get somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so it's
on Saturdays, I just don't talk to Austin. But maybe in another job, he might get talked to on Saturdays.
No, it's the complement of things, but at the same time, it depends on where you live. Like if you're living in LA or New York, the cost of living is so high.
It's insane.
That I don't know how people survive here without almost like working 2 or 3 jobs.
I had a friend. No, I told you what. Like Philippe, we were talking the other night at dinner, like maybe a month ago. No, yeah, he's like, I don't know how people live in LA under $500,000 a year. And my man does very well. My man does well. But he works his face off. That he is glued to his phone from like 7:30, 8 a.m. to I think on Mondays 9 or 10 p.m. because his company is international. So his C-suite level guys are the owners live in Singapore. You know what I mean? Or they're in Brazil or they're in Europe. So it's and then he has a LA team, and I'm like, he talks to me about this stuff, and I'm like, man, and then he still has stuff where he's on the side because he's consults and he's worked that into his business. But I'm like, man, you work in LA and you work for a place that can't pay that much.
Yeah, and
it's. You take a huge hit, you take a huge sacrifice, but then we're able to do things like art of communication and help build the team and hire the team that we work with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that it's one of the reasons when Dave Ramsey says, if you're in debt, move to Kansas. And is that there are certain places you can live and you don't have to have a
He says that?
Yeah, I heard him say that. Yeah. And
my man, Dave Ramsey ruining the world.
Well, no, I mean, there's several things. One is that if you don't have a particular intention in your life, then you can live based on your debt ratio.
Right.
But let's say there's a sense of calling to this, that Austin and Brooke and you and our team is called to LA. So we can't go to Kansas and to relieve ourselves of this genuine financial crisis.
Yeah.
So I actually think people in LA, people in New York, people in major cities where the income to cost of living ratio is disproportionate.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be more of a side hustle kind of person. You have to think, okay, what can I do? And one of the things I remember when we had the recession of 2008, that's when I started my McManus Studios because I thought I have to create jobs. And we were able to create, dozens of jobs for people that would have been unemployed.
Yeah.
And so some of it is even in this time, in this season, we're no matter what anyone's saying, we're in the middle of a recession. Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of incredible economic instability and financial crisis in America. And so I feel like if you can, you have responsibility to create wealth and to create economic flow so that other people can benefit from it. Mm-hmm. And I hope we can create lots of side hustles so our teams can actually benefit from them.
Yeah.
And that would to me to be ideal. But we were really talking about leaving a job.
Yeah.
How do you leave a job well? Oh, go ahead, Brooke. You don't have to raise your hand. You're not in third grade.
I don't want to interrupt you if you're on a flow.
No, just interrupt us.
You said at one point, Pastor Ren, you said, if this isn't your career and you start doing other things, I'm like, how many people in our age group, like millennials, Gen Zers, are going to have careers?
Or maybe just use a different word. If it isn't your calling.
Okay.
Yeah, I think fewer and fewer people have careers and more people have jobs.
That's good.
Right? And it's a rare thing when you go, wow, this is my career. This is what I want to do with my life. And I think in generations ago, you had careers.
Yeah.
And you did it all your life. Even if it wasn't a career you wanted, you just picked the career and you went with it.
Yeah, you did 30 years.
Yeah. And now it's really much more, I have a job. And I think the goals have kind of shifted to where it's, I'm looking for a job that I can do for the next 20 years, to I'm looking for a job where I can go on vacation. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a job where I can enjoy my life. I'm looking for a job where I can do all the things I want to do now. And by the way, that's not a bad way of thinking. It's way better than going, I'm going to work myself to death until I'm 65. And then finally, when I'm too old to enjoy my free time, I'm going to get to retire and have free time, but I don't have the income to do it. It's much smarter to go, I want to integrate, in a sense, my retirement with my employment. I want to have my retirement years now by working hard and playing hard. I think that's the best option.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was having, I have a different mindset than I think some other people. We were talking about like the value of, owning land or buying property. But I know I have a lot of friends who are like, no, I'm down to buy a house in 10 years because I want to go to Europe for a month every summer and I want to live like I'm wealthy now. Even though they do well, but it's like I want to live outside my payment bracket, and not buy a house, but rent a house and have a pool and have all these nice things. And I'm like, I just lived in a 900 square foot house for the last year so we could save more money and do more projects and build, because and it didn't mean I was happy. I remember complaining. I complained a lot. Like I was like, why am I in this little thing? I went from a house in the hills to the house under a hill. No, the Hobbit's house was wild big. But I think a lot of it is like, how do you defer desire, pleasure, or gratification, achievement, success? Because I think that's a bit of it too, right? It's like we had this conversation in New York. I was like, I'm scared or I'm nervous or something that brings me continual anxiety is what happens when you're gone, but not even when you're gone, but what happens when it's not a natural a shift. Like I can't write books for you. you know? And I don't want to be one of those kids who just license your books out for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a Tolkien kid who's got to license the appendices to
It'd be kind of nice
Amazon.
to be a Tolkien
It'd be
kid.
kind of nice. If you feel like writing Lord of the Rings anytime soon, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. But, you know, like, I don't want to live off of your legacy for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's some parts of it that it's like there's an honor, and then there's also there's also like, how do you create an independent life? You know? And so how do you not get lost in your identity how do you not lose your identity in your career, or lose your identity in your job, or lose your identity in the side hustle? You know, because I see so many different sponsorships or like sponsored ads that are like, you know, I can get your company to 100K a month. I can get your company to 1 million a year by doing these, or like Alex Ramosi or a lot of these guys. And like, I'm always fascinated by people who can, you know, he's super smart. So like, you know, you have these guys who can kind of just unlock these things. But then you've got this huge shift with like Gary Vee, who's gone from like, okay, I can get your company to this much a month, to like, now you need to rest. It's like, how do you're constantly being bombarded with inspiration and this kind of like cultural acknowledgement of, you know, you need to be getting your company to this level. You need to be doing this at this level. And then you get to a place where it's like, now I'm going to open a bakery. That seems like the natural progression, right? It's like, you know, my friends in New York is like, they were investment bankers and then they opened up like a food space.
Right.
And it's like, okay, it feels like the trajectory now is make enough money until you can kind of do whatever you want.
I would say make enough money until you can do what you love. You know, because I know not everyone is going to get to do what they love in the pure sense. You know, if you want to open a bakery, not everyone's going to get to do that.
Yeah.
But as much as possible, like my wife, Kim, she loves baking.
Yeah.
No one pays her to bake.
No.
But she just keeps baking.
Every day.
You know, and it's so hard for me.
I know. She made these scones and I had like 6 of them.
I had 9.
You had 9?
I had 9 scones.
Oh, man, you're not okay.
No, I know.
But they're little. They're little scones. But
yeah, but it's like over like, you know.
2 days?
Yeah.
2 hours.
Or 2 days.
No, I landed in LA and
they were so good.
He picked me up from the airport. It was so sweet. You picked me up from the airport and I got in kind of late. Like I was delayed an hour, and in the back seat, Brooke, he had a bunch of scones for my mom.
Aww.
And usually I try to withhold myself, but I was feeling hungry.
But I also sent you a very healthy salad.
You did send me a salad. I ate the salad and then I ate 5 scones you gave me. I didn't save anything for the morning. I just ate them that night. And it was, you know, okay. So
my whole point there is that there are things that you may love in life, but you don't have to be paid to do them. Just do them. And then if you get a great opportunity, you might get to actually merge what you love to do, what you get paid to do. And that's the ideal, is when you get paid to do what you love.
I'm pulling up this person.
And I want that for me, and I want that for everyone. You know, I mean, I think Austin loves being a cinematographer. I think that, you know, like that is something that both he's great at doing, he gets paid to do, and he loves to do. And that's an ideal integration.
It is.
You know, and you know, and that's why, you know, I had Brooke list down everything she hates to do and everything she loves to do, everything she does. You know.
Yes, you did.
And you know, and then I just, even there's things I wanted Brooke to do because I trust Brooke, I cut them out and went, okay, it wasn't in the top even 5, you know, and but some of the things I cut out for her were things that were in my top 3 of things I need from Brooke.
Yeah.
Because they were not in her top 5, I just went ahead and just pulled it out. And you know, because the longer a person is here with us on this team, the more I want their job to match their loves. To me, at front, you got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
You just do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
And if you and you serve and you just jump in, you just say yes. Like your job response is yes to me early on. And when a person's job response is yes, it makes me more ambitious to help them have a job that's really ideal for them.
It makes it easy for them to say yes to.
Yeah.
I ended up hanging out with the Mimi Chang's girls in New York, and one of them was like, hey, I'm going to pick you up. Let's go get, I want you to try one of the new dumplings. So we went over and had a French onion soup dumpling.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. Here, let me show you real quick, because I'm getting into this guy. That's the French onion soup dumpling.
That looks amazing.
This thing, when I tell you it tastes like French onion soup, was phenomenal.
I love French onion soup.
So Mimi Chang's New York. So then we go up and she's like, hey, I'm dropping you off, order food. And then I got to run to the bank. I'll be right back. And I was like, okay, cool. So I ordered food, a bunch of food. And it was really interesting because I've been to one of their locations and I never do this. But I texted him and was like, yo, this person at the front desk is mad rude. Like, this guy's got to go. And they were like, and I never do that. I like never do that. And they were like, hey, thank you so much for telling. And they knew exactly who it was. They were like, thank you so much for telling us. I'm so sorry. Like, we've been having some issues. The guy who serves me at this different location, it was the same dude. And this person, it was crazy because I think that was a year ago or 2 years ago. And then a year later, I was like, hey, how is he doing? He's like, oh, he's still with the company. We actually had a lot of great conversations. 2 years later, this guy's at the front, kindest. He's running the front desk, shouting out all the things at the back guys, training someone new. And then it was really cool because I saw her walk away. And so it was cool to see him grow, Yeah. And he would never remember me, but because he didn't know I was even friends with him, I think the first time. And then I was like, one, to watch him grow. So they didn't give up on him. They committed to him. So that was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And like in a service jobs are hard.
Yeah.
Because I deal with crazy people like me. And then, I watched like her leave, and then he grabbed one of the new guys and said, hey, by the way, that's one of the owners, one of the sisters. And she's really awesome. And if she ever comes in here, like if she ever needs anything, just, help her out, XYZ. They'll pop in here from time to time. She comes in here more than the other one. And, like they have, and he started explaining like the role differential, like how to work with them. And I actually didn't tell her. I need to call her and tell her. But I was so amazed. I was like, this guy went from being maybe brutally unaware, or maybe just having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or season of life. And then it was like to this massive awareness where you could tell like he really took ownership of his job. And I'm like, that's where I think the generation right now, even in my world, is like everyone's switching roles. You lose this ability to commit to the growth of the role that you're in.
Yeah.
How do you go, hey, look, let me take this moment of suffering or potential suffering of like, this sucks, my job sucks, to like, hey, I actually can not just own my job, but able to like lead other people inside of the job and replace myself or build a team around me. And then I met this guy in there that was this big. His name is Michael Chow, but he has Food Baby New York, like 300,000 followers on Instagram. This is where the story is landing. And she was like, "Hey, meet my friend Mike." So he's like sitting. Like, how it's like awkward during like a little restaurant and we both sit on opposite sides. It was just me and him because we didn't want to talk because our only friend was like our other friend. But then his wife comes in and starts talking to me, and we all start talking. And he's like, "Yeah, I started this other Instagram and it blew up, and it's like 300K on Instagram. All he does is like post videos, but he's feeding his kids, and it's like having them try the food that he has, and it's called Food Baby, and it's really, really funny." And I was talking about it, and he's like, yeah, like this isn't my job. This is what I do for fun. He's like, I work for a bank. And I was like, what? And like, yeah, like I have some other corporate job I do. That's what I clock in. I just run around at lunch and like go take a bunch of videos and like go at dinner and take a bunch of videos. And he's like, now I've gotten like relationships with like the food community. And she's telling me all this, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, talk about someone who's going, yeah, I'm not even giving up the thing that I know I don't necessarily love, but I'm good at it. So I'm not going to quit that. And then I'm going to invest in that. And then also build in something that I'm really good at as well. And making my free time the thing that pays off for the future of my life. Yeah. And I was like, that's so remarkable, right? To have the commitment and the foresight to go, I think sometimes we give up too early, And I know in my past, there are some of your friends who gave me huge opportunities when I was younger, and I gave up too early, and I have the list of your friends that have helped me in my life that someday I will be able to repay, the generosity that they gave me because the stewardship of their friendship. They didn't owe me anything. They didn't owe you anything, but they gave me an opportunity, especially when I first moved to New York, And I look at it and I go, I just wonder if people give up too soon and go, I don't know if I can build the life I want here versus going like, maybe there's a life somewhere buried deeper in this that I can find.
Yeah, I also think people underestimate how a job can actually make them a better human being.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back, I started working in this pizza place when I was around 15, 16 years old. Yeah. I worked full time during high school.
Right.
And so, I went to high school, played football, ran track, and worked a full-time job.
You worked at like after hours, like pizza places, right? Yeah.
I worked this pizza place for 4 years,
Like late
basically.
night.
Yeah, till 2, 3 in the morning, and got up and went to school the next morning,
So
and
crazy.
every weekend, and played football and everything else. And I remember
The South is different with child labor laws.
yeah.
Did I tell you about the Austin? I know I'm cutting you off real quick, but me and Lawrence went to Austin a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I want tacos. And I was like, sick, let's just go out and walk. It's like 10 p.m. So we walked out like 2 blocks from the Airbnb. We find this taco truck in the back of this bar. It was actually super cool. It was like this courtyard, there's a taco truck. And I was like, I think that's a taco truck. So we went to this bar, go to the back courtyard, find this taco truck. I kid you not, the guy running this taco truck was like 11 years old. I'm not kidding. I was like, hey bro, like, wait, what? He's like, how can I help you? And I was like, how can you help me? Can you come back when you're 15?
Yeah, you have to do the high voice because 11 years old isn't even puberty.
No.
How can I help you?
And I was like, what's the best tacos? He's like, Al Pastor, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, attitude. Okay, 11.
What are you talking about?
It's like 11 people tonight.
We're still 11. Come on.
Keep going. Tell me about
No, I mean, I was probably 15, 16 years old, working till 2 o'clock in the morning.
It's crazy.
And you know, but I remember that I would do things like I'd create competitions around who could pan the most pizzas as fast as possible.
That's so funny.
And you know, and how many pizza pies can you actually dough out in 2 minutes? And you know, and even at 15, 16, 17 years old, I realized I can make this job fun.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at night we would make these giant pizzas after we closed and grab pitchers of dark beer, and everybody would sit and we would just eat and drink at night at 2 in the morning. Next day I'm going to school.
This is not an advertisement for underage drinking.
No, it's not. But I'm just telling you, this was my real life.
You grew up different.
You know, and I didn't, you know, think of doing anything wrong or any extreme. I was working hard.
This was the 60s, right?
No, it was 70s. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
But my point in this is, I took a job that would seem very mundane.
Yeah.
And I turned it into my community.
Okay.
I turned it into a fun, exciting place where we enjoyed life together.
Right.
And I look back, even when I was working in landscaping, you know, we mowed lawns and all this stuff, but then I started creating patterns in the gardens and creating rock formations and bringing different kind of equipment to create different designs in the sand and the dirt. And I found out that I was getting paid more on tips for what I wasn't paid to do than we made on the entire project, because I brought imagination, creativity, joy into the process.
Yeah.
And so I look back and I go, whether I was working as a carpenter or construction or, you know, whatever it was, when you bring an attitude that says, I'm just going to make this a great job and I'm going to make it a great experience for the people around me and I'm going to make this, you know, the best day of my life, it's amazing how you can take a very mundane job and turn it into something really special. And that shaped me for my future careers.
That's amazing. I love it.
And so that's what I'm going, if you're in your 20s and you have a job that isn't, quote, ideal, isn't a job you love, just learn how to love your job and watch how it changes you. Watch how you change the job and watch how it prepares you for the job that you actually are dreaming of.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? And I think, you know, and I think a lot of this came from like off camera. We were talking about like, how do you quit?
Mm-hmm.
How to quit your job.
Yeah.
And how do you resign from job and how do you move on? But I don't really necessarily know. Maybe we save that for the Patreon.
I think that before we go into the next level conversation, I just want to say, you need to recognize how much trust the organization has given you.
Yeah.
And that will determine the way you should leave your job.
Absolutely. Okay.
And it's a scale. It's not the same for everyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the same, you know, the way I equate it, and we'll get into this in the Patreon because we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
We've done this for about 45 minutes. But I do think, you know, the way we set up the Patreon is like, I like you, I love you, diehards, and Bury Me in Battle Ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just me, like, I did it on a whim on my phone. I was just kind of like joking around and like, oh, this is kind of funny. But I'm like, the way you quit is really a determination of like how much you care about the organization and the people that you work with in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something to be talked about there. And I think the reason why we should talk about it is because I think this is something that's happening with a lot of people, you know, and not everyone has the safe space or the freedom to talk to you about it. Because I'm your son, so I'm able to chat with you about the days I want to quit and leave, and so I think it'd be good for us to chat.
All right. Hey, but this has been a fun conversation.
I think it's been a fun conversation.
Yeah. Maybe we should call this one Side Hustle.
Call this Side Hustle? Okay, let's call it Side Hustle.
I think we got a name.
Okay.
All right.
All right. See you guys later. Join us on the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/BattleReadyPodcast. You can also click the link in the bio and watch these podcasts, listen to these podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or the Apple Podcast app. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so grateful. And I love you, Dad. I'll see you on the Patreon.
All right. See you in a minute.